Welcome to Old Guy Tech,
the OGT.TV recording studio.
Technology for the rest of us.
Hey everybody, this is Rob Charney. I'm here today with John D'Agostini, Sheriff of El Dorado County. John, once again, thank you for joining us. And we're doing this live because, one, I'm hoping to get you to watch us, not only live but recorded as well. But John had an experience that is unbelievable for any of us that are gun owners, are sportsmen, target shoot, whatever it may be. It covers everything. In California, it's a war, and it's just awful. And so I want to take the time, and John, why don't you tell us about your experience at the legislature yesterday?
Well, I was asked by numerous individuals, lobbyists, specifically NRA, CRPA, Gun Owners of California, if I would come down and testify in the Senate Committee of Public Safety, I believe it was,
right,
yesterday, on this array of gun bills that is moving forward through both the Senate and the Assembly. I said absolutely. I checked, my calendar was open, so I was able to make it.
Right.
There was myself and Sheriff Dean Wilson from Del Norte County, who also showed up in Class A uniforms. There were numerous sheriffs, specifically, or mostly in the North State, that were wish they could have been there, but we're busy.
Yeah,
I understand that.
Tough, yeah.
So, got there in the morning, met with Sam Paredes and Ed Worley from CRPA, and one other gentleman I know, Tom Pedersen.
Tom Pedersen, right.
From
CRPA.
CRPA.
Right.
And, we talked about what was coming up, and Dean and I, they asked if we could speak on two bills in particular, and I had already prepared something that was kind of a blanket for all of them.
Right.
So we went into the committee hearing room, and the bill that was the first one I watched was by I can't remember the gentleman's name, senator from San Francisco, on the Cow Palace, banning gun shows at the Cow Palace.
Okay, right.
Which was a local bill, state-mandated local bill.
However that works.
Yeah, and I was amazed at, and I have to always remind myself to appreciate the emotions and the beliefs. I get that. I understand that there are the emotions on the liberal side,
right,
are, it's real to them, and I understand that. It is what it is. But when you get down to the constitutionality and the freedoms of this country and what gun ownership and our right to keep and bear arms is, it blows me away. I just can't fathom it. So that one went through and took way longer than was expected.
And that's just the Cow Palace one.
That was just the Cow Palace one. So then they came to this SB 374, which was introduced by Steinberg, Lonnie Hancock, and Ye Lonnie, who is the chairman of the Senate's Public Safety Committee.
Okay.
And we went up. First they had Senator Steinberg, Speaker Steinberg, I should say, presented the bill, and then the supporter side. And then they have all the supporters line up from the audience and get a couple of minutes on the mic.
Right.
And then they go to the opponents of the bill, and at which time myself and Sheriff Wilson got up and spoke. And, I was very, I believe, you know how I feel. And
oh, sure.
Everybody in El Dorado County pretty much knows how I feel. I'm very passionate about this. And I finished with, I know that I'm not here to change your mind, Speaker Steinberg. I said, I know you're the author of the bill.
Right.
I said, but I want to speak specifically to the committee and about our constitutional rights and the Constitution. And I had my Constitution with me.
Right.
And I mentioned my oath of office.
Right.
And I said, I take that oath very seriously. Every soldier that fights for this country or has fought for this country takes that oath support and defend that Constitution. Every judge, every other peace officer in this nation, and every one of you.
Yeah, anyone who's held any kind of political
Elected
position at all, we swear
an oath.
it's an oath, right?
And I said, and I want you to think about that. I want you to really seriously think about that. And in the morning when you got to get up and look in the mirror, think about that.
Right.
And the thing that, and this was supposed to take, I guess, 45 minutes or so, this whole process. Well, it was hours. This took hours. The passions that were being voiced there and the beliefs, and there was a lot of support from Second Amendment advocates and people that were just completely opposed to this bill. But the thing that really bugged me, and I understand, I should not have been surprised at all. Should not have been surprised. Those votes were already predetermined.
It was done.
They were already traded, voted for, promised, before that committee ever met. And as soon as it was done, after they broke for lunch and came back and reconvened and heard more testimony, when it was done, the vote was, there's 2 Republicans on the committee, Anderson and Knight, I believe, are their names. And it was a strictly party line vote, and it passed through the Public Safety Committee. So I guess there's another 1 or 2 committees it needs to go to, and then it'll go to the floor, and then to the Assembly, and then on to the governor's desk, because I'm sure it will breeze by all of those. Our only hope will be the governor's desk for it to fail.
Oh,
but
boy.
this specific, and there's a whole litany of anti-gun bills going through right now. Another one was being heard in the Fish and Wildlife Commission, not the Fish and Game anymore.
I know, it's
the Fish and Wildlife Commission, about the use of lead for hunting or for shooting, for anything really, and it passed. No more lead. There was I wasn't there, but I heard that there was a comment made. Well, just use copper bullets. Well, those have been outlawed for solid copper for a while. They just don't understand. And just as this bill, they don't understand. 374, SB 374 by Steinberg. This bans Ruger 1022s. They're assault weapons.
So let's explain this. This is a gun and magazine bill, both, right? How would you describe
Well, this
bill?
isn't specifically the mag bill. The mag bill is another bill. I guess you could say yes. This takes the existing assault weapons legislative law that is on the books now, and basically just opens it up to everything. This is not just centerfire. Now it also includes rimfire. Any semi-automatic firearm that has the capability, that has a detachable magazine with the capability of holding 10 rounds or more, whether it does or not, is now an assault weapon. By July 2014, it shall be registered at a fee of no more than $19 at this time, which can be changed later. And the worst parts about it that I don't read in the bill, but Steinberg did talk about, I guess it just has to do with the assault weapons, is they can no longer be transferred from there on out. So you have to register it by July 1st. If you don't, you're a felon. And then, if you become a prohibited person, it's confiscated. You'll never get it back. Which that's a no-brainer.
Right.
If you become a prohibited person.
Yeah.
But if you die or you want to pass it on,
right,
there is no transfer. It is then contraband and it is destroyed.
No provision for that.
Nope.
Yeah.
So, I used the term when I was testifying as unenforceable. This is unenforceable.
Right.
It's unenforceable. You're classifying. This is unreasonable. Absolutely unreasonable. There is no sincere adherence to this document, to this Constitution. None. As a matter of fact, a statement was made in I believe it was Steinberg that made it, but I can't be sure, but I remember hearing it, that they wish they could just rewrite the Second Amendment.
Oh, I bet. Oh, that I believe entirely. By the way, if anybody wants to call in, 621-1210, 621-1210, we'll take your calls. So remind me, let's go through this so I understand the absolute details of this. This takes any firearm that is capable of accepting a magazine holding more than 10 rounds is now have to be registered and is classified as an assault weapon?
Yes. Any semi-automatic.
Any.
This bill would instead classify a semi-automatic rifle, semi-automatic rimfire or centerfire rifle that does not have a fixed magazine with the capacity to accept. Capacity. Doesn't say it has to.
Right.
With the capacity to accept 10 rounds or fewer as an assault weapon.
Now this says just long guns?
Just long guns.
Okay.
There is a handgun portion in here as well. But it talks about semi-automatic pistol with a fixed magazine that has the capacity to accept more than 10 rounds. These are not exemptions. No. Or a semi-automatic pistol has the capacity to accept a detachable magazine and any one of the following. A threaded barrel capable of accepting a flash suppressor.
Already illegal.
Forward hand grip or a silencer.
Already illegal.
Or a second hand grip. Or a shroud that is attached to or partially or completely encircles the barrel that allows the bearer to fire the weapon without burning the bearer's hands, except a slide that encloses the barrel. And the capacity to accept a detachable magazine at some location outside of the pistol grip.
Boy, I'm not normally speechless, but
and I'm gonna pull this piece of document out. I forgot to. There's so many other ones that are out there right now. They're calling it the Life Act. All these are the Life Act.
Life Act.
There's also the same people, the Life Act, that are pro-choice too. Just had to throw that in there.
All right.
In the Assembly, we have criminal storage of firearms. Somebody gets a hold of it unlawfully.
That's already in the case. That's already in the books, though.
But I think it provides civil liability now.
Oh, okay.
Gun buybacks allows a credit. This is these are Assembly bills. AB 232 allows a credit against the net tax on the amount equal to the specified amount of surrender or sold to local law enforcement. Handguns, shotguns, rifles, or assault weapons that are in good working condition. Open carry prohibitions. This is, I believe, repeals the provisions making it an offense. So this is okay.
Oh, so this is a pro.
That's Donnelly by Donnelly. He's
okay. All right.
Very pro.
I was going to say, because everything you stated so far is already illegal. So this is trying to turn them around.
871 is the issuance of concealed weapons permits. This makes it basically a shall issue. That's a good one.
Yep.
AB 1020 by Bonta is letter to purchasers, pamphlet that summarizes state firearms laws, and to offer copies of the pamphlet to firearms dealers for sale to retail purchasers. This looks like just some informational stuff.
Okay.
Right. Some of the opposes in the Senate bills is the storage again. Gun Owners of California opposes that one. Authorizes handgun smart guns. Available for retail sale. Handgun would be unsafe if it was not owner authorized. I'm not sure what that one. I think that has to do with only you can use it. That technology that they've been talking about for years.
Which
maybe
will probably never be able to do.
299 lost or stolen reports. You're a criminal if you don't report your firearm lost or stolen within 48 hours.
Right.
That one was pulled. The one in the Cow Palace, I told you that one. That was by Leno.
Right.
This one's 374 by Steinberg. Another one by Yee, that old bullet button deal that Yee tried to push through before is being pushed through again.
Right.
What's this one? Firearms, shotguns. Revises the definition of a shotgun. This is 567 Senate bill. Revises the definition of a shotgun to delete the requirement that it is intended to be fired from the shoulder, and clarifies that the projectile may be fired through either a rifle bore or a smooth bore. Deletes an erroneous cross-reference. The magazine capacity is by Hancock. That's 396. This includes a new definition of large capacity magazine and the provision that prohibits the sale of same. Provides it is an offense to possess any large capacity magazine regardless of the date it was required. There are millions of magazines in this state.
Oh, yeah.
I will say millions, not hundreds,
No,
tens
no,
of
no.
thousands, hundreds of thousands.
There's millions.
Of magazines in this state.
Right.
You have just turned probably thousands of California residents, law-abiding people, into
A criminal.
And from what I understand, too, this will also apply to a magazine that it's so poorly written, as are most of the new legislation we see. This will also apply to a magazine such as a Glock or a Smith & Wesson that has the typical double-stack magazines. When they're limited to 10 rounds, they do that with an extended follower.
Right.
Right?
Right.
The length of the follower gets jacked up so
Yep.
that you can only go down so far.
Correct.
But you can take the floor plate off, swap that follower out with a new spring, put it back together, and it becomes a high cap.
True.
So even limited capacity magazines that are easily converted to high capacity magazines will be unlawful.
So in other words, possession of any magazine capable of holding more than 10 rounds will be illegal in the state of California.
Yes.
Period.
Yes.
And the penalties for that are?
I don't know if that's a wobbler or a misdemeanor.
It's going to be
sure, it's a
interesting.
felony. They make them all felony.
Even if you've had the magazine for...
Yeah, in other words, there's no grandfathering
It says regardless of the date it was acquired.
Yep.
This bill, this is 53 by De Leon, this bill would require the AG to maintain copies of ammunition purchase permits, information about ammunition transactions as specified in ammunition vendor licenses. The bill would expand the prohibited armed persons file to address persons prohibited from acquiring ammunition and would similarly cross-reference those persons with records of ammunition transactions as specified. They can't even keep up with the ones they have now, Department of Justice. They want $24 million now to be able to update their database.
Yeah, right.
They can't even do what they're doing now because it's so screwed up.
Right.
They're hitting wrong houses, they're getting wrong people, they're doing everything else, and they want to add this to it.
Yeah. To this day, I haven't had an FFL in over 20 years. To this day, once a year, I get a call from ATF wanting to know the disposition of a handgun that I sold over 20 years ago. And my reply to them, of course, and we're talking about handguns, is 1, you have the records. 2, I no longer have the records. And 3, did you call DOJ? And they go, well, we don't talk to DOJ. So, here you have an example of, oh my God.
Well, I think this may be, if the governor does not veto these, this may be where the lines get drawn in the sand because, number one, I think these are going to come up for suit. I think these are clear violations of the Second Amendment, subject to interpretation by the Supreme Court. I think they need to go there. The Supreme Court has said that states can have reasonable restrictions on the Constitution for public safety and whatnot. But reasonable, where do you draw the line on reasonable? And I think now is the time where the question needs to be answered.
Absolutely, because reasonable to you and to me are two separate, entirely different things. It's just, I don't even know what to say. But that doesn't surprise me. That's what I know to say. It doesn't surprise me. We once a month we go through a list of all the bills, and the problem is they're moving targets because they'll change the bill number and make it something entirely different. Mm-hmm. And that seems to be one of the things that's happening too. So what they're trying to do is dodge us. If if you've got something that you don't like and you say a particular bill, but it says all of a sudden it became a medical bill. One of the bills did become a medical bill. It was an anti-handgun bill. They switched it on purpose. So you kind of watch that. It's one of the things you have to watch. They'll do that.
Oh yeah.
But you know what? So let me ask you this, John. And I've asked others the same question. Does this not lead, in your opinion, maybe to civil disobedience in the sense that there are people that are just simply not going to go ahead, and there's a phone caller, not going to go ahead and follow the law? Hey, caller, who's this?
Oh, this is Jim Reardon.
Hey, Jim, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good, Rob. I just wanted to call in and say how many of us really appreciate our sheriff's efforts to withhold our or uphold our constitutional rights. And,
Great. Jim, hang on one sec, because I'm going to plug John in so he can hear you. I wasn't ready enough with the whole thing, and there we go. John, can you hear Jim now?
Hello.
Jim, how are you?
Oh, good, Sheriff. How about yourself?
Fantastic.
I just wanted to call in and let everybody know how proud a lot of us in the community are that you went down and supported us as you did. And we're really proud of you, and I personally agree with everything you're saying. And I think it's just going to be a bureaucratic nightmare to try and enforce it as well. Okay, I won't take any more time.
That's all right. Well, Jim, first of all, thank you very, very much for your support. And I want to extend that, because while I went down and do that, and I truly appreciate the support, I am, in my opinion, I'm just doing my job that I was hired to do, that I said I would do, that I campaigned on, and after I was elected, I'm just doing my job. But I'll tell you who really needs the support right now, and that is those that we believe are conservative and are fighting for our values down in that legislature, because I'm telling you, I saw them get just beat to death yesterday.
Yeah. And we're talking about organizations like CRPA, Gun Owners of California, NRA, and all these guys that go down there and fight every day for our rights.
Yes, but I'm also talking about our legislators,
and
Gaineses, and
yes.
whoever else you may know or have some contact with, to let them know that we're behind them, because I tell you what can happen, and it happens more frequently than we believe or want to believe. Some of these legislators get elected, and then they get down underneath that dome, and their whole peer group changes, because we have a full-time legislature.
Right.
If we had a part-time legislature, this wouldn't be so much of an issue. But they spend so much time down underneath that dome that they've gone from listening to, barbecuing with, events all the time with their constituents that they served, that put them in office. They went from that group, that peer group, to now the peer group under that dome.
Right.
And it happens where they get whatever term you want to use,
like-minded.
They start to ingratiate themselves with them, and then they're not so much the bad guys, and then next thing you know, they're compromising on issues such as this. And it's human nature, unfortunately.
They're trading. They're pork barreling on this.
Unfortunately, it's human nature. And I'll tell you what, they can really use your support, because the two, this Mr. Anderson and Mr. Knight, senators that were in this Public Safety Committee, they didn't have a chance. And they knew they didn't have a chance. They did vote the right way.
Right. Jim, let me ask you a question. Still there with us?
Yes.
Okay, so let me ask you a question. Have you, I know you're very progressive, and you write a lot of letters and send a lot of email. Have you found, and it's getting reported to me, that people are sending letters, actual letters, stamped letters to legislators out of their district, and they're literally being told, since you are not in my district, I don't care about what you have to say, and they're just throwing it away. Have you had any of that experience?
Not personally, Rob, but I believe firmly that we're going to have a backlash from north to south on this. It's just it's unconscionable, in my opinion.
Yeah, it is. Well, I really appreciate you calling, Jim, and taking the time, and thank you for helping me earlier today as well, and getting me online with John to talk about this issue, because this is one that we are going to be talking about for a long time to come, and we have to do whatever it takes. That if it's at this point now that it's going to go to the governor's hand, and he's the one that's going to make the decision, I don't have a whole lot of hope, so I'm not certain exactly what we're going to do, but we're going to have to definitely work on that. So, Jim, thanks for calling. We'll call anytime. We'll talk to you soon.
Talk to you soon, Rob.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you again, Sheriff.
Back to your original question that you asked me.
Right.
Do I think that this is going to be where the lines are drawn in the sand? And
right.
This could be it. I believe this could be it. but I've said it before, and I've said it in many different settings, that we're in El Dorado County, we're in a good spot, we're in good shape, because this is not going to start here.
Right.
There's still, even in those more liberal counties and locales in California, there are still pockets of conservative, law-abiding, Second Amendment, pro-Second Amendment gun owners.
Yep.
Who will have had enough by this as well. That's where it's going to start. I firmly believe that. We're going to see this coming. I'm confident in El Dorado County. I feel very confident about this. If this is where they draw the line, you're nobody's going to abide by this. I've worn out 3 10-22s in my life, if you can believe that. I didn't think you could ever wear out a rifle.
Yeah.
Growing up throughout my life, I wore out 3 Ruger 10-22s. Just flat wore them out. How many of them are out there? Now they're an assault weapon. A Ruger 10-22 rifle is now an assault weapon. People are not going to register these firearms.
For those of you who don't know about a 10-22, it's just a semi-automatic 22 rifle, just like many of the others. They use a little box magazine. It's a very, very common gun that I think every one of us own. And now you're going to take their little plinking guns and, again, add it to the assault list. This is just nuts.
Yeah, so now you've got this whole new class of people that are now felons.
Right.
Now, what am I going to... I'm not going to go around in my county and say, okay, he's got a 10-22. I know you got 10-22s. You're now felons. We run across them. Hey, you know what? We don't have time for that. We just do not have time or resources to deal with that. Now what? The Attorney General is going to come up here to arrest me?
Well, Homeland Security did come out and say, if the sheriff won't do it, we will. They said that.
Well, not in my county.
Well, all right.
But if they come up, because they'll be... Kamala Harris will be I will be the one she comes after.
All right.
She's the only one that can come after me.
Right.
After me. And I feel pretty confident that with a few phone calls, she's going to have to come through hundreds, if not thousands, of people to get to me.
Right.
And I know a lot of other sheriffs throughout the state that feel the same way.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
California State Sheriff's Association last Thursday voted to oppose all these bills. Well, I shouldn't say all of them. We only got through 4 of them. Voted to oppose these bills.
Right.
4 of these bills. This in being one of them. And yet they still don't... They won't... And I'm not saying Sheriff's Association deserves that... To be okay. Well, state sheriff says that we can't do it, but by God, we mean something.
Right.
We answer to the constituents. We know our job. We know our oath of office. It should mean something, but in that committee, the vote was already predetermined.
Yeah. And the other issue too is the majority, unfortunate majority of chief of police that answer to a city council tend to lead in the way the council leads. And, if you're in a big city,
Absolutely.
wherever it may be,
Absolutely.
you know how they're going to go.
Yep.
And it makes it sound like they can stand up and says, hey, the chiefs of police of the United States stand up and are all in favor of all this anti-gun.
But then you hear about, what happened in Colorado when Obama was there, and half of those were there under duress.
Right.
They didn't want to be there.
No.
They had to be there.
Yeah.
I guess Colorado sheriffs, and I haven't confirmed this, but I've been reading a lot, and hopefully I will soon. But they're suing. They're going to file suit against these new laws that they're faced with
in
now.
Colorado.
In Colorado.
They better, because they took one of the better states and flipped it completely.
Yep. And now New York, who just passed this sweeping gun legislation, anti-gun legislation, is now seeing a huge recurrence of crime.
Yeah.
Rapes, assaults. Why not? Crooks know that the constituency is now disarmed.
Oh, yeah.
Why not? Of course. I said this in the committee. I said,
Unreal.
Since the reason the Second Amendment, we all know what the reason, and whether you agree with it or not, that means the same thing today as it did when our founding fathers wrote it. It wasn't for hunting. It wasn't for fishing.
Nope.
Like you're saying, it won't hurt any of the hunting rifles or shotguns that are out there. It wasn't even for self-defense, and that's what everybody's pushing forth here. It wasn't even for that. It was to protect ourselves against a tyrannical government. Now, I didn't say that in the committee, but what I did say was, since the beginning of time, evil people have walked among us. Until the end of time, evil people will walk among us.
That's right.
If there wasn't, I wouldn't have a job.
I would like to ask a question.
Okay.
Say if the it does pass and say guns are outlawed in California, what would be the reasonable expectation on the sheriff's department? Because I'm assuming the calls would go up through the roof, people calling.
We don't have time for this. We don't have the resources for this. You're talking thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of firearms in this state, and magazines and everything else, and records, and that we would have to start keeping under this bill.
And by the way, it's an unfunded mandate, right?
Unfunded mandate, and it talks about that, and I haven't gotten into that part of it yet. But the bottom line is like I said, this is unenforceable. There is no way we can fairly, equally enforce this law.
Yeah.
And laws have to be such that you can fairly and equally enforce them. It's simple. If you beat him up, you're in violation of a battery. It's simple. Anybody that beats anybody up, we can equally do that. Under this, these guns are everywhere. Rightfully so. That's why we live in a safe community, because there are guns everywhere.
Well, we do know that there is, unfortunately, some law enforcement that would love to see this being passed, to give them another step in, because, I mean, what if a neighbor gets, let's say these bills pass, okay? Neighbor calls up and says, my neighbor's got a high capacity magazines. And I'm not talking about your office, but I'm talking about some of the overly zealous LAPD, those kind of guys. They're going to come busting into your home without a warrant, more than likely.
We better have a warrant.
But, you know how they've done these things because
they're creating more of a problem.
Yes, they are.
They're trying to solve, and what they're trying to solve, this will have absolutely no impact on, and that is violent crime.
Absolutely not.
Absolutely no impact.
I mean, we talk about it all the time. Does a criminal go into a gun shop and buy a firearm legally? No. Do they register their guns? No. Do they? They're doing everything, and they're going to be a criminal because they're going to act against somebody. So that's illegal. They're going to attack them, shoot them, rob them, rape them, whatever. But that's illegal. I mean, there isn't anything that's going to change that, other than the fact that we as citizens have the ability to protect ourselves. As you have said, your guys cannot be everywhere all the time, right? So we have to take care of us. We've got to be able to do that. And if all of a sudden it's our ability to protect ourselves are taken away because of stupid legislation such as what you talked to yesterday, we're in big trouble. Because I really firmly believe that you're right. The line is going to be drawn in the sand. Mm-hmm. Because, a lot of us who would never think twice about doing anything illegal are going to think about this one.
Mm-hmm. Oh, thousands of people are going to think about this one. It's not going to happen. People are not going to register these firearms. They're not assault weapons. Whether what you think of an assault weapon is. Assault weapons were banned 1934 when they stopped fully automatic firearms?
Correct. Right.
That's an assault weapon, but even then, so what?
Yeah, even then.
So what?
There was a tool in some of the states where you go through a federal license, a full background checks, hundreds of dollars, and you could have a full automatic weapon.
You can still do that
in some states.
If you're willing to jump through and pay the fees.
That's right. So there are, for those of you out there, believe it or not, there are states where people have these weapons and have never used them to commit a crime. Never.
And never will.
No, they're sportsmen. They're out there enjoying it.
But these people that are in that position to be able to do that, I guarantee you, if you're not paying attention to what's going on now, you ought to be, because they're coming after you next.
Absolutely. Every one of us have to... You know what? It's funny. I had this discussion with Ted Nugent. And this is going back a year ago or so. And I talked about the split that we see in firearm owners. Okay? We have our handgunners, our cowboy shooters, our epic shooters, our trap shooters, and every one of them, and particularly when you get into the trap guys that have an over-under shotgun, they go, I don't care.
This doesn't affect me.
I don't care about any of that as long as I can keep my over-under Perazzi. Okay? Quote, unquote. And that's the problem. You know what? This is just the start, guys. If you think you're going to support these things and you're a trap shooter, you're next, because you know what's coming? The sheriff told us about it. No lead ammunition. How are you going to shoot your shotgun with no lead?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, all of a sudden it's going to affect me?
For
Gotta do
years,
something about
they
it.
said, "Oh, rimfires. We don't have any interest in rimfires. Rimfires, 22s. No, we don't have any interest in those. No. It's here. It's here. It's
Yeah,
just a progression."
Well, I think it's important that we keep the message going out there, and that we everybody has got to get involved. And you know what? I don't want to be I'm not the spokesman for NRA, GOA, GOC, any of these guys, but they need money, because what we've got to do is hire the damn attorneys. Love them or hate them, we want them to be our attorneys, and we're going to have to fight this thing.
Yes,
and
are.
It's going to take money. So no matter if you're a life member or not, send those donations, because we're putting links on our website to all these organizations, because we've got to do something. Something has to be done, and you've got to support the groups that are supporting you.
Well, I will be at this Saturday night.
Good for you. I can't make it, but
NRA fundraiser, Friends of the NRA, and then the following Friday night in Rockland there is a Gun Owners of California banquet.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, they need our support. They need us to be there with them. Mostly our financial support at this time, because these need to get litigated.
Yeah, they do.
And they're the best ones to stand up and do it. They understand the issues. They've been there. This isn't their first rodeo. We need to keep up the fight.
Well, we got to fight it. And information is king. Keep watching our show on this stuff. We'll make sure that we bring it to you. We're always going to have John comes in and talks to us once a month about a lot of different things. This happened to be a hot button issue, so we kind of broke it in this county anyway. We broke the story because an awful lot of people don't know that this has taken place and has happened. So it's important that you take the time and make yourself knowledgeable about what's going on, and you got to do that. Real quick, John, one of the other questions I had, let's get off of this a little bit, and let's talk about what happened just for a few minutes in Boston. Yeah. Now, I heard just shortly before we got here, they actually have a suspect now.
That's what I understand.
Yeah.
I heard it on the way here, so I don't know much more than that.
Yeah, and I don't think anything else has been given out. But what do any nut job can really build a bomb if they want to. But this one showed a level of expertise. My understanding is this is a type of was it IUD? I think that's IED that has been used in Afghanistan quite a bit. A pressure cooker tends to be a very good vessel for blowing up. Is that what we use? Yeah, it was used with a pressure cooker.
Yeah, I sophistication level. You can make a bomb as long as there's some way to contain those expanding gases to the point where they have to. Right. Expand
something
rapidly.
Has to give. Right.
Something to do that. So, I don't know, sophistication level, whatever you want. I don't know. I listened to John McGinnis, retired Sheriff John McGinnis, on the radio yesterday, and there was a big debate over whether this was actually should be called an act of terrorism or it was just an act of a criminal. This is terrorism. This is terrorism. Absolutely.
Period. Doesn't matter if it's homemade terrorism or foreign-made terrorism.
Absolutely.
This is terrorism.
It's terrorism. But one thing that strikes me on this whole issue is, and I don't know the answer. I have no idea why. But what is the difference? And why is there such an uproar? And I'll use Sandy Hook. Immediately, it wasn't Adam Lanza, it was the gun.
Right.
Now we have this tragedy.
Right.
And it's not the gun, it's the suspect. Why is there a difference? Why do we look at it different when it's a bomb or a gun? And is it just because of the agenda that's driving the gun issue? They both were caused by, obviously, evil people that did an evil thing with a tool. That's all it is. Either one of them was a tool.
That's right.
But in Sandy Hook, Aurora, Columbine, it wasn't the suspects, it was the gun. When you have these bombings, whether it was at the Olympic thing years ago, or it was Boston here day before yesterday, it's not the bomb, it's the suspect. What is the difference? Why? I don't understand that.
Good question. And you know what really got me, this whole Sandy Hook thing, what really bothered me is talking about being opportunist. Obama stands up there with, and you know what? My heart bleeds for everybody that lost somebody in Sandy Hook or was wounded or whatever. I mean, I am so sorry. You know, it hurts me to the root of my core. But to use these people to pass an agenda is just outrageous. Mm-hmm. And you don't hear too much about that. Mm-hmm. They stand in front of all these small children. Mm-hmm. You know what? Every one of you ought to be ashamed at what our president did, using those children for an agenda.
But now, with this circumstances that I'm talking about, are we now going to ban pressure cookers?
Yeah, might as well.
We're going to ban pressure cookers? We're going to ban all ball bearings, all nails, all nuts, all bolts?
Sudafedrin.
Well, yeah. I mean,
We'll do that.
What is next? I mean, that seems to be the answer. Anytime there's something that people don't like, the first thing they want to do is pass some form of legislation to stop it. And this is where we go. And you and I talked about this before. There are so many laws on the rule books that there's no way anybody with any brain can keep track of everything that's supposedly illegal, right?
I say it in here last time. I want to see one of these bills.
Yeah.
It says before you can pass any new bill, there has to be an attachment that shows two bills that you are repealing.
That's that, and
two laws you're repealing.
I wish we could get the Gaines to get that, bring that up, because I think that's what needs to be done. You cannot keep outlawing things that are already outlawed and think by adding more stuff you're doing any good. Because bad guys will always be bad guys. It isn't going to matter. And a gun sitting here, just like this phone right now, is not going to do anything without the guy behind it. And, those bombings that took place, that pressure cooker just didn't put itself down there and blow up on its own.
Nope.
So that's my rant. we got that in. I just, really, everybody, just do me a favor and watch our show. Wednesdays tend to be live evening shows. We do an evening show every Wednesday night. John comes in once a month. Maybe he'll come in more often. We'll see. But we really have to stay informed. We all have to help each other. And hopefully you've liked what we've brought to you. We've done about 45 minutes right now. John's got to get going because he's got work to do. And I want to thank you for watching us live. And hopefully we'll do this some more. John, thank you very much again for joining us here at News 44 and Old Guy Tech. And we had a great time. And hopefully you'll watch us and hit that donation button on our page. We need some money too. Thanks for watching. This is Rob with Old Guy Tech TV, News 44. See you later.